If you don't remember anything else from my talk, remember a couple of things. One is that Colorado faces a very significant and immediate water supply challenge, that we're on a current trend. We have a solution. We have a default solution. That default solution is that as we have new needs, we're going to transfer water from agriculture to meeting municipal, industrial, and increasingly environmental needs. And that if we stay on that path, we're going to transfer an unacceptable amount of water out of agriculture and lose the irrigated acreage that is Colorado's heritage. If we want to avoid that, our board and the water community has found that we're going to have to implement a mix of strategies, that there's going to be no silver bullet. We're not going to be able to conserve our way out of it. We're not going to be able to build one or two large water projects and get out of it. It's going to take a mix of solutions, and we have to pursue all of those concurrently at the same time. Is go through kind of the top 5 recurring questions that I get as I go around the state and talk about what Colorado's been doing and what our water planning process has been. The first question that I almost always get from some audience is, can't we just control our population? We don't have a problem if we can just stop growing. And this is the real challenge that is facing our state. It's how to meet our increasing municipal and industrial water needs while still sustaining agriculture and sustaining the environment and our recreational uses. Currently, Colorado has about 5 million people. The population is projected to nearly double by 2050. About half of that growth is going to be births over deaths, so natural population growth from the folks that are already here, and about half of that is going to be due to in-migration from outside of the state. As long as we are continuing to have our fiscal policies and politicians talking about what we need to do is stimulate jobs, economic growth, we are going to continue to have population growth, and it's good for our state, it's good for our economy to be able to do that. So then the next question is, well, if we're going to still have population growth, can't we just use less water? And that is certainly, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. You heard our governor talk strongly about the need for conservation, and it's one of the major strategies that we're looking at. But with that population growth by 2050, Colorado is going to need an additional 600,000 to 1 million acre feet of additional municipal and industrial water supplies. And this estimate includes water for population growth, energy, and industrial uses, including potential oil shale industry, and then the replacement of the non-tributary groundwater in the northern El Paso County and the South Denver metro area. As I mentioned, conservation is a big part of this. We, as the governor talked about, have to do more, but we've done a significant amount since that drought of 2002 that shocked our state into taking a different course. Since then, our state has, per capita demand has decreased by about 18% statewide, and the projections that I showed you of the 600,000 to 1 million acre feet of additional demands assumes and rightly assumes that these savings are permanent, that they're going to remain permanent, that demand is not going to go back up. Now, I say rightly assumes, that's the hope that those are going to be permanent, but the water providers don't know that for sure. A fourth question that we often get, as I mentioned, if we don't do anything differently, the status quo solution that will be implemented is that we'll transfer water out of agriculture to meet environmental uses and municipal and industrial uses. So the question is, well, does this really matter? Does it matter if agriculture in Colorado dries up? Most of this agricultural dry up is going to happen in the South Platte, so does the whole state agree that we need to have a viable ag industry in the South Platte? And then the accompanying question is, are we just delaying the inevitable? If we prevent agricultural dry up for the next 50 years, isn't it going to just happen out into the future? And we've done some work in this area. We've had a lot of consensus throughout the state that losing that amount of irrigated agriculture in Colorado is an unacceptable outcome, and we need to do something different. We've heard that both because of economic reasons, food security reasons, and also because of some of the things you heard Secretary Salazar talk about, which is that irrigated agriculture provides a lot of the open space, a lot of the environmental amenities, a lot of the late season return flows that help preserve our environment, help create that buffer between the urban areas so that we don't have an urban corridor that stretches from the Wyoming border down to Pueblo. So the state has agreed that we need to do something to keep agriculture viable. The fifth question is that I often get is, do we really need a portfolio of solutions? This gets down to the people come in with their kind of preconceived notions of how we can solve these different problems. I was encouraged by the 5 points that were made in the report card that look at sort of a holistic view of the different solutions that we need. But folks will often ask, can't we just do conservation? Can't we just build 1 or 2 large water projects? And what our work has shown is that we really are going to need a mix of solutions in order to avoid the status quo. We're going to need, and I've got a term down here that folks might not be familiar with, IPMPs, which are identified projects and processes. Those are those local water projects that the water providers are currently pursuing. We're going to need those to be successful. We're going to need to do conservation above and beyond the 18% that we've already seen. We're going to need to develop new water supplies, and there are going to continue to be agricultural transfers. Hopefully we can do those in a different and more innovative way. Tried very hard to make sure that our planning process, although it's messy, convoluted, and long, there's a lot of talking, a lot of bickering, a lot of bantering, but in the end, we're hoping that it's not just a support group, that we actually get real solutions on the ground. With that, hopefully we've covered some of the innovative solutions that are happening in Colorado, in the larger basin, to help meet a lot of the challenges that you've wrestled with throughout this conference and throughout the report card. And I'm going to ask my 2 other panelist members to come up, and we will address whatever questions you have for any of the 3 of us. Thank you very much.